111 dead, 170 missing. Entire Texas neighborhoods swallowed by water so devastating it's visible from space. But was this really Mother Nature's fury? Because 48 hours before the floods, planes were reportedly releasing silver iodide into the Texas clouds. The same week, New Mexico's river exploded from 18 inches to 20 feet in just 30 minutes. 200-year floods happening days apart. Weather modification programs running just before disaster strikes. Bodies still floating while activists inject race politics into rescue efforts. When you see the timeline, when you connect these dots, you have to ask, are we looking at the worst coincidence in American history or something far more sinister? You decide and keep watching. Now, folks, you all know the cost of food skyrocketing, but we keep hearing about coming shortages, supply chain issues, but have you ever stopped to think about the natural food chain and the importance of our bee populations? Well, the good people at Patriot Bee Best have done extensive research about this important issue and created an educational online digest to help spread the word about challenges facing the American bee. Patriot Bee Best is a digital bee sanctuary for education, engagement, and real change. They're laser focused on restoration and preservation of the American bee populations and our republic. For less than 17 cents a day, you can support this show and bee restoration. Visit patriotbeebest.com to subscribe, donate, and support this veteran-owned business. Join the Hive today. Remember to use code NEXTNEWS. So this, I saw whispers of this a few days ago. It's now bubbling to the surface. Mainstream media now reporting a cloud seeding operation took place in Texas just 2 days before the devastating flood. A 20-minute flight released silver iodide into the atmosphere, targeting 2 cloud systems, and the clouds reportedly dissipated that same day. And despite the timing, the company's CEO, Augustus Doro, insists the operation had nothing to do with a massive flooding that struck shortly after. Listen.
Centimeter.
Times you might have seen posts or videos connecting cloud seeding to what is happening in Texas. And then earlier tonight, the CEO of a weather modification company confirmed that planes in Texas did release silver iodide into the atmosphere 2 days before the floods. But he also explained why he says scientifically it does not mean that the two events are connected. Watch this.
We're talking about like sub-centimeter amounts of precipitation, be it in snow or rain from every event, which in aggregate can mean hundreds of acre feet, which is very consequential for farmers and ecosystems, but cannot come close to causing flooding unto itself.
And NBC News climate reporter Chase Kane joins us now. Chase, any conspiracy always starts with like a thread of truth here. Can you explain the science? Like, what is cloud seeding, first off, and how is it being used in Texas?
Yeah, so cloud seeding is really this idea for farmers of like, hey, there's some moisture up there in the clouds. Is there a way that we can get it out of the clouds down here to the surface to help farmers? Because water vapor that's in the air needs something to grab onto, which is often like smaller than the tip of a pen. So you're thinking like particles of pollen or dust or even air pollution. So you see this graphic here. Basically what they do is they fly planes up there to give the water vapor something to grab onto. So it's a combination of silver iodide and salt, actually. And so the water vapor forms around that. Eventually it gets heavy enough and then falls to the surface of rain. So when that happens, we're talking really small amounts of rain. In fact, scientists have been debating for decades whether or not this is actually very effective to do. So even when it does work, Gotti, we're not talking about a lot of rain, certainly not the amount of rain that they saw in Texas last week.
And the timing of it, 2 days before, I mean, you know, again, anybody online that seems to be an expert these days would say, well, no, this is what, you know, started the flood or possibly like supercharged the soil so it was hydrophobic. Like, well, take us through the timeline here.
Yeah, that's a really important point, Gotti, because this cloud seeding, it works within like 15 minutes, half an hour, maybe an hour, and then that's it. So that was done 2 days before. So the CEO saying this, other scientific research establishes that cloud seeding isn't going to trigger something like this, certainly not 2 days after they were doing it. They were only up in the air cloud seeding for about 20 minutes because, again, it's targeted to a pretty small area of land, which was not even over where the worst of this flooding was, Gotti. So we're talking 30 minutes to an hour, certainly not 2 days in advance.
And I mean, cloud seeding is human-caused climate change on a very micro level. But when we're talking about climate change on the macro level, does it look like this flood has any links to climate change? Times you might have seen posts.
Yeah, we'll leave it right there. Here is satellite images show before and after the deadly Texas flooding. At least 111 dead, over 170 still missing. Satellite images show widespread flooding in Kerr County with entire neighborhoods submerged in the destruction so severe it's visible from space. Look at this. Unbelievable devastation. Before, after. Unbelievable. Before, after. Complete devastation. And of course, Stacy Abrams is back. Wesley Hunt nuking Stacy Abrams for injecting race into the Texas flood tragedy. Failed gubernatorial candidate Stacy Abrams tried to claim that women of color and people of color need to use their power to hold the administration accountable for the deadly flood.
And I also want to say one more thing about Stacey Abrams' ridiculous comments. You know, I've been black too my entire life. And when this incident happened, the last thing I thought about was the color of someone's skin. I thought about these American babies that lost their lives. And so she should be ashamed of herself. We must condemn it. And I welcome any Democrat that will join us on Friday to mourn the loss of the lives of these babies. And I also want to say
this is not a time for race politics, but some people believe it. Here's another one. Ever considered, this person says, ever considered that maybe that flood in Texas killing all those kids is God's divine punishment? MAGA, I effing hate you so much. Another unhinged liberal.
And the ever considered that maybe that flood in Texas killing all those kids is God's divine punishment? Y'all are killing your own kids. Killing your own kids. I hate to see it. I hate to see it for any kid, but to be honest, if you're just all killing your own kids, I'm gonna let it go, you know? But you're killing our kids too. You're killing children and you're ruining the country and the planet for our children and grandchildren for generations. I fucking hate you so much. I hate you so fucking much. Truly don't care if maggots get caught in a flood or a fire that they weren't warned about. Get what you voted for. No sympathy here, no empathy, none, bereft of it. However, those kids in Texas were children. I don't blame them for a thing, but it doesn't escape me that had it been a camp for gay kids instead of a Christian camp, there'd be a lot of people on this app talking about how it was God's will and God sent that flood. Ever consider that maybe?
Yep, that's the mentality. Here's what. How remember that? Did you hear about this? As a Houston pediatrician, I saw this floating around social media. Dr. Christina Props, Bluefish Pediatrics. Absolutely horrible things she said. Well, she's now been fired. Check this out.
Political end. I can't believe there's another person we have to talk about, but this is Dr. Christina Props. Dr. Christina Props formerly worked at Bluefish Pediatrics until very recently. She is a pediatrician, and she is yet another individual who took it upon herself to politicize the aftermath of the Kerrville flooding and do it to suit her political ends. Now, she made a post essentially saying that, you know, individuals who are MAGA.
You see this? I'm going to pause it, put it on the screen. Christina, that's her social media handle. May all visitors, children, non-MAGA voters, and pets be safe and dry. Kerr County MAGA voted to gut FEMA. They deny climate change. May they get what they voted for.
Got what they deserved, got what they voted for. Bear in mind, a lot of casualties that we saw actually were children who could not vote themselves. And the fact that you would take it upon yourself to attack them and say in some weird macabre way they got what they deserved really goes to show how morally bankrupt and rotten your soul very well may be. But this Dr. Christina Props is a pediatrician. Her job is to take care of children. And she chooses to delineate and draw party lines based on who individuals voted for. Honestly, people who choose to do this, who are in these fields, they're doing all of us a huge service because they're helping us figure out who we need to support and who we don't need to support. The last thing I would ever want to do is find out that my pediatrician was making comments like this on social media in her spare time, because then what might that cause that person to do if they found out that I was on the right or that I was a right-wing individual? Would they try to hurt my child? You never know. Because many of these people are the exact same ones who wanted to have children removed from parents who didn't comply with medical tyranny over these past few years. So how could I, in good faith, put my child in the care of someone who would be callous enough to make such a divisive, caustic statement? These are the questions a lot of parents are asking, and with very good reason. But Dr. Christina Props, most recently, it was discovered that she no longer worked at Bluefish Pediatrics, which I would argue is actually very good news. This sort of behavior cannot, should not, and will not be tolerated anymore. And it honestly gives me hope for humanity that so many individuals, even on the left, are realizing just how far radical leftists have gone and that this cannot be allowed to continue in a polite society. Because it doesn't matter who you voted for when a natural disaster hits. Here in Texas, we deal with hurricanes pretty regularly. And the last thing you'll see an individual do is come up to someone who clearly needs help or assistance and check to see, oh, did you vote for Team Red or Team Blue before they render aid? We just help each other. That's what we do. And that's what anyone should do in America. Like, we're here in this country 20 years, barely 20 years after 9/11. And I fear that if 9/11 were to ever happen again, and God forbid it does, we would see individuals on the left far more than individuals on the right checking to see, oh, what's your party affiliation before they attempted to render aid whatsoever.
Well, I'll pause. You know why? We saw that. Remember the Western North Carolina? What happened there? Remember the FEMA aid? Don't help households that have Trump signs during the Biden administration?
Completely antithetical to a polite society, and this reality needs to end. But those are my thoughts, and I'm curious what yours might be.
Thank you for that. Continuing down the path here. Remember this one? Satie Perkins doubled down in our comments, apparently, about the people in Texas who lost their lives in the flood, particularly the little white girls.
Hate or whatever, like I guess I'll just chit-chat in a video. I mean, I don't understand all this, extraordinary hate or whatever. Like, I get that white people are not used to people telling them and calling them out on their racism and telling them about their double standards and how you wouldn't give a damn about other children and how there's children in detention right now who y'all don't give two fucks about. There's no prayers going up for them. But we're supposed to stop the world and stop everything we're doing to go and hunt for these little missing white girls. Again, I actually have empathy, so I can put myself in other people's shoes and understand that that's pretty fucked up. But it seems like y'all don't get that. Y'all don't get that. Y'all don't have the empathy gene, for sure. It's very much lacking. And I mean, for y'all to just be on here, just straight up racism. Every comment, I wouldn't say every comment. I will say 99.9% of the comments have just been, EBT this and welfare that and you're a monkey and yada, yada, yada. Like, y'all haven't, it's been like 100 years. Y'all haven't come up with nothing new with other than the monkey shit and like.
Oh my gosh, I'm not going to give her any more airtime. She doesn't deserve it. Here is some footage from 4 days ago. A wall of water come crashing down the river. This is time-lapse footage of the Lano River, July 4th at 5:10 p.m. Check this out. Full screen it for you. Rob Dew posted this initially. Wow. Unbelievable. Look at that. Powerful wall of water, nature, devastation. Unbelievable. You see the people in the cars. Here's President Trump on the Texas flood.
Lady, I'll be going down on Friday with First Lady. We'll be taking a trip, and we don't want to get in anyone's way because, that's what happens. The president goes and everyone's around focused on, I don't want anyone to focus on us. But it's possible they could have somebody saved still. There's a lot of areas. It's a big area. And it's probably unlikely at this point, but there could be. I mean, they're thinking there could be the possibility. But what a tragic situation. A good job, and we'll see you on Friday. And I'll be going down on Friday.
Trump's going down there to inspect the damage. Here's Secretary Noem providing an update.
Texas are incredibly strong. They've gone through something that is absolutely horrific. And it is heartbreaking to watch these families suffer the way that they are. As soon as this flash flooding event happened, the governor has activated his emergency responders. Nim Kidd is his emergency management director, who is incredible, and has immediately worked with the local first responders to get help to individuals and get them evacuated, put requests into me. We deployed, sir, right away, as you know, because you and I were talking a lot during this time, the Coast Guard. We also had some assets out of Customs Border Protection. Our BORTAC teams went in and helped with rescues and clearing debris so that we could get roads open and people get the help that they need. I think when I got there the most, sir, that day, as soon as I arrived on site, was getting a briefing from all the emergency responders, was just how unified they were in focusing on the fact that we're there to save lives. They were there to rescue people, find people who were still alive, and to reunify them with their family members. We as a federal government don't manage these disasters. The state does. We come in and support them, and that's exactly what we did here in this situation. FEMA went to an enhanced level immediately, but as soon as you signed the major disaster declaration, we were able to get them resources and dollars right away, just like you envisioned, through state block grants to help them with cleanup. And we're still there in presence, and FEMA's been deployed, and we're cutting through the paperwork of the old FEMA, streamlining it much like your vision of how FEMA should operate, and it's been a much better response to help these families get through this terrible situation. We still are looking for people. We're still looking for a lot of little girls and other family members that were camping along that river, and they will continue until they find every single person, and we will continue to help them and assist in that. I was surprised when I got there at the camp that day, right after this happened, the parents that were there, the parents that were looking for their children and picking up their daughter's stuffed animals out of the mud and finding their daughter's shoe that might be laying in the cabin, and just hugging and comforting people matters a lot. I'm extremely grateful for God's hand in that whole situation, because hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people were saved. And this is a time for all of us in this country to remember that we were created to serve each other. God created us to take care of each other. And that when we do that, we are happier, we are more fulfilled, and we can walk alongside people on their worst day and help them get through it and come out the other side, knowing that we can continue to live a life that God has purposed for us. So they're grateful.
Amen. Amen. Moving into what happened, there was video we saw last night. New Mexico. What the heck is going on in New Mexico? Shocking footage emerged at the exact moment flash flooding began in Ruidoso, New Mexico. Another catastrophic flood event unfolding Tuesday evening, New Mexico. The Ruidoso River in New Mexico rose by 20 feet in less than an hour, shattering a record. Videos coming in, breaking of homes floating down the river. Several inches of rain. Look at this. Mexico. Here's Right Angle News. Homes completely flooded as water levels near the river New Mexico surged 20 feet in 30 minutes. Massive flooding event in New Mexico. Large structure can be seen being swept down the river. Look at that. An entire house floating down the river. Oh my goodness. Pray for these people, my friends. Pray for them all. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. So this is either the most tragic coincidence in American history or proof that playing God with weather has deadly consequences. Cloud seeding confirmed 2 days before biblical flooding. Two 200-year disasters in 1 week. Satellite images showing devastation while officials stay silent about those planes in the sky. And while families search for loved ones, race hustlers mock dead children based on skin color. Houston board members getting fired for celebrating white girls getting swept away. And Stacy Abrams making it about race while bodies float downstream. This is not about weather. It's about accountability for those who tamper with nature and those who exploit tragedy. Did weather modification cause these floods? Yes or no? I want your verdict in the comments. Remember, you can support independent journalism at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com because whether it's natural or engineered, we deserve the truth about what killed our people.